EA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 25th race of 2012, where Joe Brakecheck would be out on lap 1 because of an engine failure, and Chip Gearings would be out on lap 13 for the same reason. Doug Throttleman would be out on lap 22 because of a failed jump, and Todd Marcus would be out on lap 25 because of a damaged quarter panel. Robbie Gorvette would be out on lap 73 because of an engine failure, and then Robbie Gorvette, don't say that word! Jack DePost would be out on lap 78 because of an engine failure, and Reb Meeker would be out because of the same reason on lap 84. Travis Draftville would be out on lap 132 because of another engine failure, and 4 laps later, another engine failure would happen, except it was Denny Carlin who had an engine failure. Juan Pablo Montoya and Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. would both go down a lap as a result of the caution. Kyle Bushtire would fail to wreck Brick Yardley and Brad Keselowski on lap 356. Clint Bokar would lead the most laps this race, leading for 271 laps this race, and he would go on to win the 25th race of 2012. Who would finish second this race? Tony Gasworth would finish second this race, Kurt Busch Tire third, Maury Clutchburn fourth, and Lightning McQueen rounding out the top 5. Rex Revler would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 32nd this race. Juan Pablo Montoya would start at pole position for the 26th race of 2012, where Speedy Comet would be out for the season because of a qualifying crash. Hopefully he can recover in time for the 2013 season. Samuel Serpentino and Bogart Hopscotch would wreck each other out on lap 8, and Leo Carnell would be out on lap 26 because of an engine failure. And Chip Gearings would also be out the very next lap because he crashed in pit road. And then Kyle Bushtire would be 7th as of lap 29. Where he wrecks Bobby Swift! Why, you mean yellow car? Brian Sparks and Marcus Kranksler would accidentally wreck each other on lap 31, and then Mike Yankee Jr. would be out on lap 34 because of an engine failure. Brick Hicks would be out 3 laps later because he crashed into the inside wall. Rex Revler would be out on lap 41 because of an engine failure, and Phil Tankson would be out on lap 43 because he hit the wall too hard. Jamarcus Cakart would wreck the mean yellow car on lap 77, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be out on lap 80 because he hit the inside wall. Jimmy Cables would be out on lap 84 because of an engine failure, and later that same lap, Kurt Bushtire would be out for the same reason. And Kurt Bushtire, don't say that word! Denny Carlin would be out on lap 99 because of an engine failure, which would result in David Raycar and Reb Meeker going down a lap due to the caution. And Lightning McQueen would lead the most laps this race, leading for 308 laps, and he would win the 26th race of 2012, with Casey Corner finishing 2nd this race, Martin Carx Jr. 3rd, Brad Keselowski 4th, and Tony Gasworth rounding out the top 5. Jamarcus Cakart would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 28th this race. Greg Beeple would start at pole position for the 27th race of 2012, where Joey Logano, the mean orange car, would wreck too many cars, and Ernie Gearson would go down 20 laps on lap 300 because of a long pit stop. Doug Throttleman would crash on lap 314 after he failed to jump over James Garrison, but he would not be out, and he would go down 10 laps. Lightning McQueen once again led the most laps, leading for 134 laps this race, and would win once again, winning the 27th race of 2012, with Denny Carlin finishing 2nd this race. Tony Gasworth finished 3rd, Kyle Bushtire 4th, and Cal Weathers will round out the top 5. And Jamie McCarry would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 34th this race. And Denny Carlin will start at pole position for the 28th race of 2012. Unfortunately, before the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be out for 2 races because of a hard crash when he was trying to get onto the track. Now into the race where Reed Soren car would be out on lap 18 because of engine failure. And then Bogart Hopscotch and Samuel Serpentino would wreck each other out on lap 27. On lap 33, Dirksen de Agostino would have an engine failure. And then on lap 49, Marcus Kranksler would also have an engine failure. And then, on lap 51, Mark Burnsley would also have an engine failure. Why? And Joey Laguna, the mean orange car, would be 26th as of lap 90, where he wrecks James Garrison. Why, you mean orange car? And Rev Rodages would be out on lap 355 because of an engine failure. Kyle Busch-Tire would lead the most laps, leading for 299 laps, but Clint Bokar would be the winner of this race, the 28th race of 2012, where Brad Keselowski would finish second this race, Cal Weathers third, Mark Carton fourth, and Carl Edwards rounding out the top 5. Now guess who finished on the lead lap? Chip Gearings, Reb Meeker, and Ralph Carlo all finished on the lead lap, and Matt Karzith would be the last car to finish on the lead lap this race, finishing 35th. Casey Corner will start at pole position for the 29th race of 2012, where Ace Arrowhead would be out on lap 6 because he hit the wall too hard. Dirksen de Agostino would be back, but he would be out with an engine failure on lap 11. And Reed Soren car would be out on lap 18 once again due to an engine failure, and Rex Revler would be out on lap 22 because he hit the inside wall. And Reb Meeker would accidentally wreck Mike Splatloper and himself on lap 27. And then Joe Ricci would be out on lap 30, and then the mean yellow car, Kyle Busch-Tire, would wreck Rick Hicks on lap 49. And then Jamarcus Capehart would be out on lap 69 because he hit the inside wall. And then Mike Yankee Jr. would be out on lap 77 because of an engine failure. And then Bobby Carboni would be out on lap 140 because of another engine failure. And Danica Speedtrick would wreck out on lap 154. After failing to wreck Landon Carsill. And then Phil Tankson would be 20th as of lap 182, where he wrecks the mean yellow car, Kyle Busch-Tire. Hooray for Phil Tankson! And Doug Throttleman would be 14th as of lap 212, where he wrecks Ryan Newcar, who goes airborne! And of course he's out! And then the very next lap, Doug Throttleman would be out himself because he went into the catch fence. Jeff Burnton would be out on lap 214 because of a failed jump, and Greg People would be out on lap 301 because of an engine failure. Sam Carnish Jr. would be out on lap 334 because of an engine failure, and Kurt Busch-Tire would be out on lap 365 because of another engine failure. And Kurt Busch-Tire, don't say that word! And then Mark Carton would be out on lap 366 because of an engine failure. Buck Beeringley would be out on lap 371 because of a damaged quarter panel. And then Josh Shiftson would have this reaction. He doesn't qualify every race, and also, Lightning McQueen would once again lead the most laps, leading for 182 laps. But Matt Karzith led 181 laps, just one fewer than Lightning McQueen, who would be the winner of the 29th race of 2012. And Matt Karzith would finish second this race, only losing by 10 feet! Martin Carx Jr. finished third, Cal Weathers fourth, and his younger brother Hank would finish fifth this race, rounding out the top 5, and Chip Gearings will once again finish on the lead lap, finishing 22nd this race. Bobby Swift would start at pole position for the 30th race of 2012, where Chip Gearings is out on lap 2 because of an engine failure. Who thought? And then Brian Brooks would wreck Sebastian Silva and himself on lap 31. 31 is the number of Terry Cargis, and he would be out on lap 48 because of an engine failure. Michael McDrivewell would be out on lap 61 because of another engine failure. And then Bogart Hopscotch and Samuel Serpentino would once again wreck each other on lap 116. Of course those two wrecked each other. David Rudikar would be out on lap 185 because of an engine failure, and Reb Meeker would be out on lap 194 for an unknown reason. Doug Throttleman would go airborne on lap 253 because of Kyle Busch tire. Why? And then Denny Carlin would be out on lap 346 because of an engine failure, and then his teammate Kyle Busch tire would be third as of lap 350. Who does he wreck? Kevin Harvick. Why, you mean yellow car? And once again, Lightning McQueen leads the most laps, leading for 120 laps, and then he would go on to win the 30th race of 2012, where Bobby Swift would finish second this race, Kyle Busch tire third, Casey Corner fourth, and Maury Clutchburn somehow once again finishing in the top 5. And Ernie Gearson would actually finish this race, finishing 31st this race, the last car on the lead lap. TG Castlenut would start at pole position for the 31st race of 2012, where Reb Meeker would be out on lap 6. But why? The mean orange car, Joey Logano, wrecked him out. Why? And then he would go on to wreck a bunch of other cars on lap 175. Why? And then Ernie Gearson will retire from the race on lap 288 because he got too tired. And then Todd Marcus would be out on lap 307 because he got pretty tired. And Masterson wasn't there to replace him. Masterson, you have one job, and that is replace Todd Marcus when he needs to be replaced. And when you're needed, you're not at the track. Why? Finally, a car other than Lightning McQueen led the most laps. It's Darren Ledfoot who led the most laps, who led 163 laps this race. But it would be Clint Bokar who would win the 31st race of 2012, with Darren Ledfoot finishing second this race. Good job, Darren Ledfoot. And then Maury Clutchburn finished third, Denny Carlin fourth, and Greg People rounding out the top 5, with Jeff Burton being the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 27th this race. And Ryan Newcar, the Rocket, will start at pole position for the 32nd race of 2012, where Reb Meeker would start third, and Ernie Gearson would be out this race because he was too tired to race. Greg Speedland will replace him this race with this look. Kyle Busch tire would wreck the Rocket Ryan Newcar and Reb Meeker on lap 1. Why, you mean yellow car? Mean orange car, Joey Logano, why are you copying Kyle Busch tire? Why are you wrecking other cars at the start of the race? Specifically, lap 3! And Jack DePost would wreck Joey Logano on the 4th lap. And then he says this. Jack DePost is right. And then Denny Carlin would wreck Jack DePost on lap 17. And then Piston Cup fans would boo Denny Carlin, understandably so. And then Chip Gearings would be out on lap 21 because of an engine failure. And then the Juan Pablo Montoya would retire from the race on lap 36 because he has somewhere else to be. And he will be replaced by John Speedson, who will be the number 42 for the race. And Phil Tankson would get flipped on lap 82 by the mean yellow car, Kyle Busch tire. Why? And then Jamarcus Capehart and Brick Hicks would accidentally wreck each other on lap 109. And then John Speedson would be out on lap 205 because of an engine failure. You didn't even start the race! And Ralph Carlo would be out on lap 211 because of a hard crash. By Kyle Busch tire? Why, you mean yellow car? And then Carl Edwards would be out on lap 308 because of an engine failure. Maury Clutchburn would surprisingly lead the most laps this race, leading for 75 laps. But Lightning McQueen will be the winner of the 32nd race of 2012, with Maury Clutchburn finishing second this race, James Garrison third, TG Castlenut fourth, and Mike Yankee Jr. rounding out the top 5, with Rex Reveler being the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 30th this race. The 33rd race of 2012 will have Lightning McQueen starting at the pole, and then JJ Traley would be out on lap 1 because of an engine failure. It's lap 1. How do you have an engine failure? And then the very next lap, on lap 2, Chip Gearings has an engine failure. And then on lap 3, Reb Meeker has an engine failure. And then on lap 4, Kurt Busch-Tire has an engine failure. How? And then of course, Kurt Busch-Tire, don't say that word. And then Joey Logierno, the mean orange car, would wreck too many cars. Why? And then Danny Carlin would say this to Jack DePost, who tells him to leave him alone. And then Kyle Busch-Tire would T-bone Jack DePost on lap 385. And then Jamarcus Capehart would wreck the mean yellow car on lap 401. Hooray! And then Brad Keselowski would lead the most laps this race, leading for 91 laps, but Cal Weathers would be the winner of this race, the 33rd race of 2012, with Clint Bowcar finishing second this race, Brad Keselowski third, Lightning McQueen fourth, and Maury Clutchburn somehow finishing in the top 5 once again. Brian Sparks would finish 30th this race, the last car to finish on the lead lap. Lightning McQueen would once again start at pole position, but this time for the 34th race of 2012, where Joey Logierno would go airborne on lap 11 because of Ryan Newcar, who says this. Well, he is right. And then his teammate Tony Gasworth would wreck Kyle Busch-Tire and Brick Yardley on lap 81. And then Chip Gearings would be out on lap 102 because of an engine failure. And then Rex Reveler would also be out because of an engine failure on lap 127. Ricky Axel would be out on lap 338 because of an engine failure. Ralph Carlo would surprisingly lead the most laps this race, leading for 103 laps and win the 34th race of 2012. That's a surprise. Darren Ledfoot would finish second this race, Maury Clutchburn would finish third, Tony Gasworth fourth, and Matt Karzith rounding out the top 5. And somehow, Nick Charger finished on the lead lap. He is the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 37th this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will start at pole position for the 35th race of 2012, where Reed Soren car would be out because of an engine failure on lap 57. 3 laps later, Chip Gearings, as usual, would be out because of an engine failure. And then Michael McDrivewell would also be out because of an engine failure on lap 63. And then Ace Arrowhead would be out on lap 70 because he hit the inside wall. And Marcus Kranksler would be out on lap 78 because of an engine failure. And then Joe Brakecheck would be out on lap 90 because of another engine failure. And then Ernie Gearson would retire from the race on lap 127 because he was too tired. And then Doug Throttleman would be out on lap 390 because of a failed jump. Danny Carlin would lead the most laps this race, leading for 202 laps. And then Reb Meeker would win this race, getting his second career win the week after Ralph Carlo got his first career win. And then Clint Bowcar would finish second this race, Mark Carton finished third, Tony Gasworth fourth, and Matt Karzith once again rounding out the top 5, and Ken Schrader would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 35th this race. Now, on to the cars who can win the Piston Cup. Starting with Lightning McQueen, who is the current points leader, and all he must do is finish in the top 30, and if not, he must beat Cal Weathers and Brad Keselowski. Now, on to Cal Weathers, who is less than 150 points behind Lightning McQueen. And he needs to beat Lightning McQueen by 30 positions or more. And now, on to Brad Keselowski, who is also less than 150 points behind Lightning McQueen, and must beat him by 31 positions or more. Oh, and must also beat Cal Weathers to win the Piston Cup this season. Now, here is the top 20 in points. I already talked about the top 3, because those are the 3 who can win the Piston Cup from the last race this season. And Greg Beeple is currently 4th in points, with Clint Bokar rounding out the top 5. He is only behind Greg Beeple because he is less consistent. And in 6th is the defending champion, Bobby Swift, who will be losing his Piston Cup crown. And Matt Karzith is currently in 7th, with Tony Gasworth in 8th. And who is in 9th? Denny Carlin, despite numerous DNFs. And rounding out the top 10 is Kevin Karvik, who hasn't been doing all that much this season. And Jimmy Cables is 11th in points as of this moment, with Dale Earnhardt Jr. just behind him in 12th. And he is also ahead of Martin Carx Jr., despite racing 2 fewer races. Martin Carx Jr. is currently 13th in points and could take that 12th position. And Casey Corner is in 14th because, for the most part, he finishes in the top 20, but not in the top 10. Same with Brick Yardley. And just below him is Ryan Newcar, who is currently 16th in points ahead of the mean yellow car, Kyle Busch-Tire, who is inconsistent as usual. And Carl Edwards is in 18th. A big drop-off from his performances last season. And in 19th is Phil Tankson, who wrecks the mean cars, like Joey Logierno, who is 20th. But he is only 25 points ahead of Maury Clutchburn in 21st.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Well, the video is finally out after over a month. But don't worry, the 2012 LA 500 video will be coming out very soon. And also, other videos I am working on are the Earnhardt family tree and specific videos dedicated to the careers of Jamarcus Cakart and Matthew Phillip Wheel. And remember to go into the link below to join the Discord server to add video ideas for this month. Because remember, I will be posting every single day until Christmas Day. And there will be another video coming out tomorrow. Something that should happen sooner than tomorrow is the end of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom. But this common dream was interrupted by a tyrant and bully named Vladimir Putin. Why did you give Russian soldiers the order to invade Ukraine? Isn't Russia the biggest country in the world? Why would you need to take even more land? That's just being greedy. We at the hashtag Bullets YouTube channel stand with Ukraine in their struggle against Vladimir Putin's tyranny. And we also recognize the true borders of Ukraine as shown by this map that includes Crimea, the Donbass, and all other territory that is currently under Vladimir Putin's tyranny that is rightfully Ukrainian, which includes territory in the Kherson Oblasts, Zaporizhia Oblasts, and also a small part of the Kharkiv Oblast. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam Slava! Nechai Shvitsya Daretsya! Ukraini Peremoha! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! May Ukraine be granted victory very soon!